The opinions and views expressed in the following program are those of the speakers and the host, and do not necessarily reflect those of Yoakley Scott Corporation and Your Sports Network.
Yeah, I've been closer to Jesus before, so can you help me out? Oh, can you help me out? Am I on my own? Am I on my own? But can you help me out? Am I on my own? Am I on my own? Or can you help me out? Can you help me out? I've been scared to look in my soul. I've been afraid I would follow the road. Yeah, afraid of the things I've been told.
And hello, everybody. Welcome inside a wonderful Wednesday episode of Running Point on ysnlive.com. Brought to you, as always, by Greenwood Chevrolet in Austin Town. Going to go ahead and put their logo in the top right-hand corner so you know where to go if you were ever in the market for a new or used vehicle. Make sure to check out Greenwood Chevrolet in Austin Town. It is a Wednesday. You know what that means. It's Wrestling Wednesday with Gary Altizer, the head coach of Wellsville, and also our resident YSN wrestling guru, Scotty Minter, down there. He's along for the ride like he is every Wednesday. And today, boys, we have our first guest of Wrestling Wednesday. It is coming from Howland High School. It is Adam Heckman from Howland. He is currently in our YSN wrestling power rankings, and he's pretty near the top. The only person above him is a reigning state champion right now. Adam, thank you so much for taking the time and coming on with us today.
Thank you for having me.
You got it, buddy. So let's just talk about coming into the season and the things that you learned from last year and what kind of things you worked on so much in the off season and the expectations you have of yourself this year.
Yeah, so a big problem last year for me was had a lot of trouble on top, so I went over to camps, top bottom camps over the summer, tried learning different ways to get better on top, started wrestling in PA. There's a lot of top riders there and all that. And coming into the season, I think I got big expectations for myself.
Hey, Adam, being a wrestling coach, I know one thing is for certain is that you have to have a good drilling partner. Now, you can't be a good wrestler if you don't have somebody pushing you in the room. Who is your drilling partner, and do you think that they've helped you become a better wrestler?
Yeah, so my drill partner, he's a sophomore, Aiden O'Donnell. He's been wrestling with me all over summer, traveling all over. I think he pushes me. He's a great drill partner. I think he'll be really good coming up this season.
You know, not just him, but this Howland team and the wrestlers you're able to spend every day with just have an excellent standard of winning and standard of just really good wrestling in the program. What's it like to look around that wrestling room and see a bunch of guys that are putting in the work that just know how to have that champion's work ethic to push each other? What's that been like for you?
I love it. I mean, we all go in there, you know, no one's like has like I'm a better than you attitude or anything like that. We all just kind of stay humble, keep to ourselves, and we just go in there and scrap every day.
I know, at least in the past, I would notice the Howland kids, the Howland wrestlers, they were always strong. They always looked like they hit the weights. It looked like that was a big part of what you guys do. Is that something that's incorporated into the wrestling program, either preseason or during the season?
Yeah, for sure. During preseason, we do 2-3 times a week. We're working out, getting in more like not like just straight lifting, but more like calisthenics per se, like push-ups, all that, pull-ups. And then even during workouts, we're mixing that in with our everyday workouts.
I'm sure that's a big reason why, but you have improved. You know, every year you seem to be like better and better and better. Who are some people in your corner that you contribute that improvement to? Who are some people that have really helped you get better as a wrestler over the years?
Yeah, so you got our head coach, Coach Z, great coach, great guy. You know, he's very mellow-headed, which I'm kind of the same way. I'm easygoing, so we kind of function on the same wavelength. I get what he tries telling me and helps me every day. This year we got we had a new addition to the coaching staff, Gabe Stark, former state champ from Howland, fresh out of college about 5 years ago, graduated. So he has a lot of that knowledge still readily available to give to us.
So you had a great season last year. You finished fourth in the state. You got to the district finals. You lost to the state champ 1-0 in a real battle there. And it looked like he was on the other side of the bracket from you in the state tournament. It looked like he blew through everyone else. It looks like you really peaked at the end of the season. You avenged a early season loss to Barker. You beat him twice at the end of the season last year. And then at the state tournament, you got on the top four. Do you think, first off, do you think you peaked at the end of the season? If so, what do you think you did during the year that got you to get better and better as the season went on?
Yeah, so I mean, I think everyone gets a little burnout towards the end of the season, but I think I still peaked at the right time. During the season, like, I did extra workouts, but I didn't burn myself out early on. So, like, people don't understand, like, the importance of a rest day here and there. You got to listen to your body, and you got to, if you need a rest day, take it. Don't push just to push it, especially early on in the season. You want to save those, like, kind of banged up days where you just got to keep going to the end of the season so you can peak.
I love asking wrestlers about the rivalries they develop, and obviously Gary just brought up some that you've had to fight through to get to where you were last year. Now that you've been able to wrestle in the high school world for a little bit, who have been some guys that you really just get up for wrestling, like you love to have them across the map from you, and you really get fired up when they're going to be your opponent?
I would definitely say, like you said, Colton Barker, great opponent. We wrestled 4 times last year, great kid. So it's always fun wrestling someone multiple times, especially in those tight matches. Another one would be probably, I would say, any like local team. Like when you're any local kid that you wrestle, it's like you want to be the best of the best in your area. You got some of those kids like hours away or different states. You're never going to see those kids again. But those local kids, it's always nice having a rivalry right here in your area.
So you lost to, I believe you lost to Aiden King from Hartley. Was that one of your losses at the state tournament? Right now, you guys are ranked 1 and 2. Do you you think you're going to see him during the season this year before you head to the postseason?
So our schedule's like, there's no really tournament or match that we'll see each other. So the only match I'd actually end up seeing him is most likely the state tournament.
Okay.
That makes things fun, right? Anticipation, rematch not going to happen until the state. Scotty Mincher's with us in the bottom right-hand corner. He always adds a great question to these interviews, and I want to give him the chance to ask you one now.
Yeah, Adam. So I was just wondering, when you're not wrestling and you do have that downtime, because there has to be times, I think everybody deals with it, where you're just having a rough day or doubt creeps in. What do you do? What's the number one things that works for you as far as like getting back into a positive mindset and getting that adrenaline flowing? Is it in a good way? Is it like a music playlist? Do you have like a favorite movie with an inspirational quote? Like what's your go-to?
So definitely music. Music's a big pump up, but also like when you're not in that motivated state, you kind of just gotta surround yourself with the right people. If you have like a bunch of people on the team that's down themselves as well as you or whatever, it's not a good environment. But when you got the coaches that are always there pumping you up, your teammates always in the right attitude, if you just surround yourself with the right people, you can snap out of that funk real quick.
Right in the line of that question, you want to go, Gary?
Oh, go ahead.
Take it.
Go ahead.
I was just going to ask about mental toughness. Mental toughness is so strong in wrestling, and Scotty just asked a question about trying to keep your mind right. What about just in the span of a match, trying to just keep yourself in the right mindset, because it's you and the other guy and nobody else there. So what kind of things do you do during an actual match to keep your mind right and to keep yourself locked in?
Yeah, so like during a match, ask anyone on my team, I'm always up and moving maybe like half hour, 45 minutes before I step on that match. I got to be moving, and if I start warming up before that other kid, I know that I've already got them mentally beat in one area, which is I'm more prepared than they are. And also, you put in all that work and stuff, like, why him? Why the other person? Why should they get the glory and stuff? You just got to trust your process and know that you did all the work and you deserve the glory.
So I'm getting your goal to be standing at the top of the podium in Columbus come March. Do you have any other goals beside that? Do you have a school record you want to set? Is there anything else that you're really focusing on other than that?
Yeah, so one record, like, I'm a big takedown guy and all that. I'm big on my feet. And I've always wanted to beat the school record, like season records for takedowns. And I'm working towards that this year as well.
I want to talk about getting into wrestling and what made you fall in love with this sport. What are some of your earliest memories in the sport? When did you kind of find yourself starting to really see it as something that you wanted to work hard at and get yourself to be the best wrestler you can be?
Yeah, so when I started, I think kind of started the way that most of the kids do. Their dads put them in wrestling and kind of said, this is what you're going to do. But sixth grade year, I won one match. And then only winning one match that season kind of really motivated me to try and do better. And I got tired of being at the bottom. So, and you just practice with all these teams. You make so many relationships and just meet people that are going to be by your side for a lifetime. And it's just, you fall in love with the sport.
So we talked a lot about you and what your goals are and your success. What about your team? Talk about some of your teammates that you have on the team. We talked about your drill partner, but the rest of the team, what are you expecting out of your team this year, and who are some of your other standouts?
Yeah, so as a team, like, we always try placing top 3 to 5 as a team in any tournament we go to or any match. Another standout, I would say Chris Majavic. He's a junior. He got bigger. He's 190 this year, but if he fixes a few things, he'll be one of those great guys that could very well qualify for state and be standing anywhere on the podium. And we have a younger team, so I like to see those guys just going out there and trying. They may not have the experience or mat time as these upperclassmen, but they're gritty and they go out there and they put the work in.
I know you're being gracious enough to join us in the middle of the school day, so we're not going to keep you for too long. My last question for you, and really it's more of just a chance to let you shine a light on the people in your life that support you. I want you to take the time to talk about the people that support you, your support system, the people in your corner that you really couldn't be as successful as you are without. I want you to give them a shout out.
Yeah, so definitely my mom and dad, like, they're your parents. You can't do nothing without them. They're spending their money, taking their time, taking me everywhere. They've taken me all the way up to, I've been all the way up to Annapolis, Maryland for wrestling. I've been all the way down to Greensboro, North Carolina. They've taken me everywhere, spent thousands of dollars in their time. Honestly, I couldn't be where I am today without them. They drive me hours to practice and all that.
All right, Adam, we want to thank you so much for taking the time to join us today. We appreciate it. We wish you the best of luck this year, and we hope that when March comes, we see you in the podium.
Thank you. Thank you for the interview.
You got it, buddy.
Thanks,
We'll
Adam.
see you soon.
So,
Adam Heckman from Howland joining us, one of the top wrestlers in the area. And like I said, the only person above him right now in the Ysn Wrestling ratings, which you can find it on Instagram, Ysn Wrestling, is a reigning state champion in Keegan Cell. Not a bad guy to be behind.
No, and it was great listening to him and his answers. They were the answers you want to hear out of a kid. And you could see when we were asking the questions, he was smiling. He obviously loves the sport. He loves what he's doing. And he said something. He tried to make sure he didn't burn himself out early in the season. And man, that's so important. That's it in this sport where it's such a grind all year long. You've got, like we talked about last week, 5-day-a-week practices, and then you've got 12-hour matches, sometimes longer than that. You've got to really pace yourself. And for him to peak at the right time, I think he's got the formula down to get where he wants to be in March.
The quote of that interview, the one that I loved, and I'm going to start using it. I love it. Why him? I love it. Why does he get, when we're talking about his opponent, why does he get the glory?
Right.
I worked harder than him. I motivated myself better. I warmed up before him. Why him? I love that because it's just you and him. That's all it is. Or her if you're a girl wrestler. But it's to say, like, why is he going to win? I'm going to win this one. I love that mindset.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a great mindset to take. And hey, it's just another person out there. It's not
Mhm.
anything, you're not wrestling someone heavier than you unless you bump up a weight class, I guess. You know, you're about as even as it gets as far as your physical stature. Your mindset and your work ethic are the two things that are going to take you where you want to go. If you're working, you're putting the work in and you want it bad enough, you'll get where you want to go in this sport. It rewards those who do the things that they need to do, and those who set their mind to a goal and want to achieve it. I mean, you can't rely on a teammate. You're on that mat by yourself. It's all on you.
Let's get into the technical aspects, some of the things he said too, because when we asked him what he worked so hard to improve on from last year to this year, he said he was struggling on top, and he went to some top down camps over the off season. Gary, for people that are listening that maybe not be into wrestling or aren't there, when a kid says he's struggling on top or he wants to improve on top, what does that mean? One, and then as a coach, what kind of things would you give that kid to improve on that?
Well, what that means is, in the top position, if you get a takedown, you're on top of your opponent. You have control of your opponent, or you start in the top position after you go out of bounds or after a period. So that's what it means. It's literally you're on the top. You have control of your opponent, and what that means is you want to try to turn your opponent or to expose their back at an angle where the referee feels, it's not vertical. It's tilted backwards enough to where he can start counting back points. First, if he gets to a 2 count, you get 2 points. If he gets to a 5 count, you get 3 points. And if you get both the shoulder blades down, and you can, get a pin. If he said he was struggling with turning people or getting them to that position. And it used to be the top position years ago. When I was in high school, it was a specialty. And if somebody was good on top, they were just dominant. Nowadays, everybody has some kind of moves on top. They've got some kind of go-to to turn people. And that most wrestlers, I would say, are pretty good on top. You can't really get to the next level without being a good top wrestler, because you're going to spend time there, and you really, to rack up the points, you have to turn your opponent. And what would I tell my kids to do? He did exactly what you should do. He went to camps and worked on that specifically. And then he said something interesting, and something I think that will probably really help him is he went to Pennsylvania over the summer and the off season to get better. Pennsylvania is known to be mat wrestlers. They're good on the mat. They're great top wrestlers, the best in the country, I would say, by a mile. He went where the best kids are around the country for that position. If he went there and worked on that, I think that he's probably going to see a really big difference this season in his top game. I don't know how he couldn't.
Another thing I loved about this interview, I loved that he said when he was talking about getting into the sport of wrestling and what motivated him to really work at it and dive into the sport, brought up that in sixth grade he won one match. And a lot of kids in sixth grade, if they have that kind of season, can go one of two ways. You can go the way that Adam did, where it's like, okay, how can I get better? Like that, it bothers me so much that I was only one win that I'm going to go and work my butt off to get more. Or it can turn around and be like, well, I'm not good at this sport. Pack it in, try basketball, or pack it in, try, whatever other sport, is in your wheelhouse. Gary, what kind of testament is it for a sixth grade kid to have that turnaround after having a season where they only win one match and saying, instead of saying, well, I'm just not going to do wrestling anymore because I'm obviously not good at it. No, I'm going to work harder as a sixth grader and I'm going to push myself to get better. And obviously he's absolutely done that.
It's very common in this sport to start your first year with one or none or very few wins. It's not out of the ordinary. It's very, very common because it's not. We talked about this in the last 2 years. This isn't a sport like basketball where you go out back and you've been playing it and you know the fundamentals of the game. Even if you're not good at, basketball, you still know the rules. You still know the point. You still know the things you've got to do. And it's not like that with wrestling. I've used the example in the past. It would be like somebody never playing golf and then going out for the golf team. It's tough to learn how to swing a golf club. It's tough to learn, how to putt and all the million things that go along with it. It's kind of the same thing here, where you're learning your body positions. You're learning the rules, what you are and what you aren't allowed to do. just learning how to put your body in the right position and when to do things, when to not, and what you're allowed to do. It's really, really hard. So that's not common. But him to say that motivated him to get better. Yeah, I don't say that. If a kid has a really bad first season, a lot of the time they'll either just not come back, or if they do, they'll have it in their head, I'm just not very good at this.
Mm-hmm.
And that's something that the parents and the coaches got to tell them, that, hey, you got to build on small wins, a close loss, or you got your first takedown, you got your first turn, you got your first escape, or it's the first time you've hit this move or that move, or hey, you're getting better, you're doing this better, your conditioning's getting better. Build on those kind of little things so that the wrestler knows that they are getting better, even if the results in the win-loss column aren't, because that's not always going to tell you whether or not you're improving, just like most sports does. I think with him being motivated like that, he probably has a really great support system. He sounds like he does. Sounds like mom and dad are doing a great job. I'm sure that they, have told him he needs to believe in himself. And, him saying, why him and why not me? That's probably something that's been instilled in him at a young age.
All right, Gary, that was a great interview with Adam. Let's go into the recap. We had a lot of wrestling going on the weekend. I know you have plenty of results there with you to go over. What impressed you over the weekend? What kind of things did we see from the wrestling over the weekend and last week since the last time we talked?
It was a good weekend for YSN schools. Beaver Local won the Cambridge Invitational, Southern won the Malvern, Salem won that Madison tournament. They scored 436 points as a team. I would say it's been a really great weekend. It was a great weekend for YSN schools. It looks like there's going to be a lot of quality teams out there locally. That would be the first thing that I'd say that I noticed. Second, it's just full season. The season is now in full swing. We're heading on to weekend two here, coming up this 16th, this Saturday, and really coming this weekend and next weekend is when really your schedule really starts to pump out a lot of tournaments, and then the duels in between. This December is hit and miss because of Christmas, and you had a late start to the season. We started really the first full week was the week of Thanksgiving, and then the Monday after that was the first day of hunting season, which is something in this area. I think that every coach has had to deal with kids who take a day to go hunting. Things like that are now gone. Once Christmas and New Year's are out of the way, coming up here in the next few weeks, we're going to see things hit full stride. But this weekend and next weekend, like I said, hit and miss, and then after that, we're off and running.
Well, I'll tell you what, don't know about this weekend, but I know tonight there's a big one going on in Boardman, a duel between Beaver Local and Boardman. That's going to be a fun one down there in Spartyville.
Yeah, you got one of the biggest schools around in Boardman that have wrestling in the area. I mean, Beaver Local's having a great year. They won that Cambridge tournament. They won the tournament with only one champion, and when that happens, what that tells me is everybody chipped in. Everybody was winning matches for them. Everybody, even the kids that didn't place, were probably winning matches. They were getting bonus points by major decisions, tech falls, and pins. So you got a complete team when you can only have one champion, but you win a big tournament like the one in Cambridge. The Buhite, Bobby Buhite kid, the one we interviewed last year, had a great freshman season. He was their lone champion, and had a lot of other guys on the podium.
Really excited to see who comes out on top tonight between the Beavers and Spartans. When you look at last week, also the duel between West Branch and United went on before last weekend, but still between episodes, and I think West Branch won that pretty decisively. If I remember right, the score was 54-28. It might have been 58-24, but it's one of those two. Either way, West Branch pretty good looking pretty good in that first matchup with a United team that beat them last year.
Yeah, we saw United this weekend. Kenny, he's done a good job with his numbers again. But he is a little bit more green this year than he has been in the past. He even admitted that. But he said he's got a lot of athletes to come out for the team. So I bet that they're going to get better as the season goes on, and they'll be, their results as far as their kids go are going to get better and better. You've got athletic kids, and they're just green. The mat time is what matters the most. And their heavyweight, Dallas McCracken, he won the Malvern tournament, and he pinned all of his opponents. He looked really good. Looks like he's hitting the ground and running. So I'm sure that this United team is going to improve as the season goes along. They finished in 6th place this weekend.
Speaking of Dallas McCracken, let's go over the YSN weekly rankings, which went on. This is week 1. Week 2 coming out very, very soon. So keep your eyes out on YSN Live _wrestling on Instagram for these wrestling rankings. Keegan Sell's number 1 coming into the preseason. I think that's a no-brainer when you're talking about reigning state champion. Adam Heckman, who we just interviewed, he comes in at number 2. Dallas McCracken is number 3. Bobby Buhite is 4. Tyson C. Schultz is 5. Braden Feister from Hoban is 6. 7 is Nick Bowser from Hubbard. You have Marky Stanford at 8 from Austintown Fitch. Cody Carpenter is at 9 from Girard, and then Canfield, there Tyler Sure. He's going to be rounding out the rankings at number 10. So that was the preseason rankings week 1. Now with a week of results, make sure to check in with that social media account to see who comes in the rankings here in week 2.
Yeah, those are all good names. Several state placers in there, a state champ, a state finalist. These are names to definitely be on the lookout for. Several heavyweights on this list. McCracken, Bowser, I think Stankorb, I'm not sure if he's 215 or if he's heavyweight, but he's a heavier wrestler. Sell, 215-pounder. So a lot of bigger guys this year getting some it's the Feister kid, too, from Hoban. A lot of them 215 and heavyweights doing well this season. It's good to see the big boys get some recognition.
Big boys getting the love. And you know what? We're always talking about Nick Bowser. I think he's been at Hubbard. It feels like he's been there for 7 years now. It feels like we're talking about him every single year. And, he's there again. And if your name's Bowser, you better be a big kid. Like, you better be big and strong. So there's only one way to do it.
Yeah, I hope the kid has a Super Mario Bowser singlet in his wardrobe somewhere. If he hasn't, he definitely needs to get one for Christmas this year. But I'm sure he's heard that his whole life, so maybe he's tired of it. I don't know.
You can never be tired of it. I don't know. Adam Heckman getting some love in the comments. We love to see it. If comments are always open, so if you want to share your opinions, thoughts, love for whoever we're interviewing, make sure to do so. Facebook, Twitter, if you're watching on Twitch, YouTube, all the comments are open, so make sure to check that out. Gary, that was our first interview of the season. A lot more to come. What a great episode 3 of Wrestling Wednesday. As always, we're gonna transition into the next segment of the show. You're more than welcome to stay aboard, and we hope that we'll see all of you guys that are watching. We have a lot of viewers right now. Stick around for more Running Point after this commercial break on Running Point, which is brought to you by our good friends over at Greenwood Chevrolet in Austintown. Be right back.
21 News delivers the news as it happens, using the latest technology from where it happens.
Live here outside the Mahoney County.
On air, online,
Wednesday afternoon weather update.
Very dangerous.
and on the 21 News social media platforms.
I'm on the road right now.
21 News, the Valley's only locally owned source for trusted news since 1953.
Craftsmanship to us is 60 years of pride and dedication.
Passed down from generation to generation.
The hardwood floors that your kids take their first steps on.
The solid wood doors you quietly close at night.
The things we create day in and day out are the products that end up turning your house into a home.
At Baird Brothers Fine Hardwoods, uncompromising quality and craftsmanship built our business.
And it will keep us moving forward for generations to come.
Going the extra mile at Greenwood Chevrolet means we want to take care of the community that takes care of us too.
And we have to work together always. And that's how you stay in business for 40 years.
You know, I love being a helper because when I help somebody, it makes me feel good.
It means a lot that I can make a difference in others' lives.
So I will do everything I can and just being there for them every step of the way.
I want them to know within the first 5 minutes that they could depend on me. That's what going the extra mile means, only at Greenwood Chevrolet.
Before the lights come on, before the workday begins, before a long day is ended, or it's time to have fun. It all starts with the people at Joe Dickey Electric. From replacing a light fixture in your home to building a substation for your business. No job is too big or too small. The people of Joe Dickey Electric power them all. Joe Dickey Electric, over 60 years of powering the Mahoning Valley.
And welcome back to a Wednesday episode of Running Point on ysnlive.com. We just finished our great Wrestling Wednesday segment. Episode 3 is done. Gary Altizer joining us like he does always every week. We thank him for his time. And then Adam Heckman from Howland, we thank him for joining us in the middle of the school day to be a part of episode 3. Scotty and Anthony back with you on Running Point. And Scotty, we had a lot of basketball last night to recap. Let's go over what went down last night on the hardwood. We'll go to the YSN scoreboard, which is presented by Brunette Pool Spas and Hot Tubs. This is a great tool for fans, whether you're at one of the games or you're watching one of our broadcasts. Either way, you don't want to look away for too long, and the YSN scoreboard is a great way to see a live, updated scoreboards for your favorite teams or maybe your rival. Either way, you don't have to wait till midnight to see the final score pop up. YSN Live/scores is where you can find it, and is presented by Brunette Pools, Spas, and Hot Tubs. Let's go into it. Overtime, Scotty and Crestview. We love the COT, some free basketball. The Rebels come out with a close win, 56-55. Talk about a nail-biter. Poland opens up NE8 play. They get the win over Hubbard, 54-34, the final score in that one in the Poland Fieldhouse. Pymatuning Valley all over Ashtabula St. John, 71-34, the final score there. Middle Ridge gets their first win of the season. They go to Sebring and win 52-36. 52-32 over Sebring. That's a Middle Ridge team that we've said before, dealing with some injuries, having a lot of players that are playing varsity that probably didn't expect to in the summer, and they work hard, they're fighting hard, and good to see them get their first win of the year. We go to Struthers. They fell to Canton Central Catholic, 47-41, the final score there. Niles, they drop one to Lakeview, 48-37. Bulldogs get the win to open NE8 play. East wins over Boardman, a big one for East, as Isaiah McCray scores 31 for the Bears. He was an unstoppable force, and East wins 75-58. Newton Falls was able to take care of Liberty, 50-31, the final score for that one. We saw Mooney and Howland do some battle. Mooney's defense playing really well against the Tigers, 49-38, the final score. Mooney gets the win. Lindsley comes up from West Virginia and beats Austintown Fitch by 10, 57-47, the final score in that one. Wyndham, they take care of Chalker, 68-41, final score there. We move on to Beaver Local against Oak Glen, and it was the Beavers, 83 points. Their offense was on another level as they win 83-62 over Oak Glen. Canfield beats up Cheney. Final score there was 53-32. Cardinals protect the nest. Ursuline went to Warren Harding, got the win 76-57. Final score there. Garrettsville Garfield, they are having a tough time with Campbell Memorial, and this was not the time you wanted to play Campbell. They were pretty upset after 2 losses. So the Red Devils get their win. They let out their frustrations, 62-29. Final score there. Waterloo beats Western Reserve, 46-38, the final score there in Berlin Center. East Palestine beats Latonia by 11, 53-42, final score there. United and Southern doing battle in the EOAC. It is the Eagles that come out on top of that one, 41-33, the final. I was in LeBray as they ran over Champion, 82-49. This game was a 1-point Champion lead after 1 quarter. It did not matter. The Vikings turned on a switch in the second quarter and ran away with the game and won it by 33. We'll go to the next one. Columbiana, they get the win over Wellsville inside that EOAC, 62-40, the final score there. We saw South Range. They did not need dramatics to win this one over Girard. Final score, 63-38. Much, much different than last year's matchup between these two teams, where both games were 1-possession matchups for Girard and South Range. Hoban gets a taste of what basketball is like in Warren as JFK, the Division 4 team, beats the reigning champions up in Division 1. And they beat them pretty handily, 67-52. Final score there. Valley Christian, they fall to Lisbon, 42-37, but another good defensive performance. 2 in a row for teams against Lisbon, as they have been held well below their average the last 2 nights. But Lisbon's defense also up for the task as they hold Valley Christian down enough to win 42-37. Springfield wins their home opener inside the MVAC Scarlet Tier, 52-39. Final score there, Tigers Electric in the Jungle. We have Orange and Midview. That score was not reported. We go to Badger, where they won 78-71 over Matthews. This was incredible, Scotty. Badger outscores Matthews 32-9 in the fourth quarter. They were down by 14 going into the fourth, and they won by 7. Unbelievable. The Braves never say die. Duncan Moy with his third consecutive game with more than 30 points as he scored 31 on the night. 2 girls basketball games as Jefferson gets the win over Conneaut 39-21. Edgewood stays undefeated as they beat Lakeside 75-37. So that is the basketball recap, Scotty. I mean, some great things to talk about. But first of all, Scotty, fourth quarter heroics from Badger. Like I said, down by 14 going into the fourth quarter, and they come out and win by 7. Not winning a buzzer beater, not win by 2. They won by 7. They scored 32 points in the fourth quarter, and Matthews only scored 9. That is incredible.
That's unbelievable. In high school to do that, like, man.
I think that's unbelievable at any level, Scotty. Forget high school. I mean, if I see a college team do it, I'm like, whoa, down 14 and winning by 7. I don't think I've ever. I don't like it's been a while since I've seen a turnaround like that in one quarter of play. Obviously, college doesn't do quarters. It would be like if someone was down that much with 8 minutes left to go and they ended up winning by 7. But what an amazing turnaround! 8 minutes. I mean, that's an 8-minute quarter. 8 minutes, you're able to win 32-9.
Yeah, I mean, talk about like never say die. Never turning down the intensity. I mean, they pretty much played. I mean, I don't see how you could play it better. That was practically a perfect.
Josh Upshires be like, no, perfect would have been 38-0. We didn't allow a point. But no, I mean, like, yeah, to not play great the first 3 quarters and find yourself in a big hole and then to be able to just turn around like that, some magic going on. It was in Matthews too, so it was on the road. And I'll tell you what, the last couple matchups going back to last year between Badger and Matthews have been absolute thrillers. When they go to Badger, that's going to be a hot ticket. You better get down to Kinsman and get to that game because, man, these two teams, one, they don't like each other that much. It's a rivalry. It's an absolute rivalry. And then 2, you can tell the last couple matchups, they've just been neck and neck. And this time around, when Matthews comes to Badger and they know that the last time we played, we had a 14-point lead in the fourth and we gave it up, they're going to be extra motivated to win that game. If you didn't need to get up already for a rivalry, they'll be up now. On Matthews' side, that's gotta suck. You know, it's gotta be so rough. I mean, you had him. It was right there, and then all of a sudden it just slips right through your fingers. And basketball, sports actually, not just basketball. Sports is kind of funky. Like when you think about it, in reality, momentum should not be a thing. Like it doesn't really make sense. You know, if you ask me to explain like quantifiable momentum, I'd be like, I don't. I mean, it's the same team, same players. But we've seen it before in every sport where it's just like all of a sudden you can't stop them, they can't miss, and all of a sudden you can't hit a basket. It's like, what in the world's happening? We were playing great for 3 quarters, and now nothing's working on Matthews' side. It's got to be tough to swallow.
Yeah, definitely a bitter pill to swallow.
A bitter pill. Yep, absolutely.
it's just having that. Not any lead you give up in the fourth quarter is tough, but to give up a double-digit lead, that's one where I think, like you said, Anthony, it's not so much like, oh my God, like, what are we going to do now? Like, how do we rebound from this? I don't think that's so much the case, in my opinion. It's just kind of like, whoa, what happened here? Like, I guess it's a little kind of like they know they have it in them, and they could close out games, they could finish these games. I think it's just a little bit of a, okay, the next time we're in a situation like this, we got to make sure that we stay as hungry, and not that they weren't hungry, but every little small attention to detail, they got to come out with that unbelievable intensity.
Let's talk about another score that I thought was very impressive. Warren JFK at home, taking down the defending D1 state champions by 15, 72-57. When you see that, Scotty, my word, that's impressive.
Yeah, that is really impressive. Dropping over a 70 burger on them, and to do it against the defending state champions, I mean, that's like got to do so much for it has to be such a shot in the arm, not just for the players, but like the fans, like that whole community. They got to just be on cloud nine right now.
And as impressive as it is, Scotty, that Warren JFK went and beat the Division 1 state champions, and remember JFK's Division 4, that fact means nothing in the scheme of things when it's coming to the OHSAA and their new point system, and they're using max preps, of course, to seed the teams in the tournament. Their algorithm does not put in what division a team is in, so you only get the points for Hoban's wins. So basically, in the new system, beating let's say Hoban gets 15 wins, beating that team in Hoban is the same exact thing as beating a 15-win Division 4 team, which, if I'm being honest, I think is ludicrous. I think you're trying to put a RPI system that's used in college. Obviously, college doesn't use division scales or size scales. If you beat Alabama in an RPI and they have a lot of wins, it's the same as beating in college, an 8-win whatever team. But in high school, when there are dramatic differences between sizes, and you have small team JFK playing huge team Hoban, and they win, like that's got to count for something. But it doesn't in the max preps formula, and it won't in the algorithm seeding teams in the OHSA tournament this year, which is kind of sad, because now it's telling JFK, like, you don't have to go schedule Hoban. You schedule good Division 4 teams and you'll be fine, because as long as they're getting wins, it doesn't matter how good those wins are. It doesn't matter what size their school is. You just have to get teams that are getting wins. That's all you have to do. So, you're going to see dramatic differences in scheduling going forward if they keep this max preps formula the way it is. There are people that argue, well, wins are all that matters in RPI, but I think they're using the RPI definition of what we know it is from the college aspect. And we've always used RPI when talking about college basketball and things like that. That's fine and dandy for Division I men's college basketball, where RPI doesn't really factor into division, but there's only one division. So when you talk about high school, where everyone's being graded on the same scale, and there's 4 divisions in basketball, it does count. It should count more when you go beat a Division I team that is really, really good. It should count a little bit more than if you beat a good Division 4 team. That's why it counts in football. We had that rule in football where if you go beat a upper division team, you get a little bit of a point boost. It doesn't count in basketball. It's a head scratcher for me, Scotty. And like I said, congratulations to Warren JFK. It's an awesome win inside the locker room, and they're going to treat it as such. But when it comes down to their spot in the tournament, It doesn't help them any more than it would have if they beat however many wins Hoban's going to get, probably about 15, 16. It doesn't have any difference in beating the 15, 16 Division 14.
Yeah, that just, man, it just doesn't seem right. Like you said, high school is just different with the vast differences and the size and just everything that goes into it. It really does. It really does hurt because as fans too, we like to see, people complain about the schools that they'll complain that they're always good. They always have talent and this and that. But a lot of some of the best schools they would schedule, like the thing you would look forward to was just that like gauntlet of a schedule, and that's what I always loved, like using like Mooney as an example. Like they've always taken pride in scheduling like the best of the best, cream of the crop opponents. So like it that really does, man. It just not. It doesn't sit right with me either.
I'll tell you what it's gonna be. What it's gonna do is it's this team, like a Richmond Heights team, which is Division 4, but they're like on another level of basketball. They play almost nobody but Division 1 and 2 schools. That's not gonna really affect. So they're gonna be like maybe like a 13 and 7 team because of the schools they play, and they're really really good. But in this formula, Richmond Heights might not make the top 24 because they're going to be 10 and 7, and that's all that's going to matter is their wins and losses. Won't matter that they were playing D1, D2 teams for all those games. It'll only matter if they beat them or if they lost to them, and that'll be it. And if you are a 10 seed in Division 4 and you have to play 25 Richmond Heights, oh man, like that is just wrong. Richmond Heights should be 1 seed all the time. They're probably one of the best teams in Division 4 in the state, and they might not be top 20 in the Max Preps, OHSA seeding, which is wild to me. That's going to be a big example that you can use of like, oh, you think your RPI is correct? You think Richmond Heights is outside of the top 20 because they're 10 and 7, but they play nothing but 1 and 2 Division 1 and 2 teams? Like you really think they're that bad?
Yeah, it's
no.
It's crazy, man. That's just crazy.
Man, I hope that money the Max Preps paid you is worth it. OHSA, of course it is. It's great. Of course it is.
Anything.
Am I really gonna ruin this tournament for money? Of course I am. Scotty, let's
world go round.
Let's go over what's on your mind today because we want to get to that segment real quick. We have a little bit of time before the end of the show. Let's make sure we let you let you express yourself a little bit and tell us what's on your mind today.
Yeah, so I was thinking a lot before the show today, and it's unfortunate that Gary had to head out a bit early. Hopefully, in future shows, he's able to join in on the discussion too, because I wanted to get his thoughts on this as well. But I really enjoyed all the coverage and everything from the Fitch game last night against the team from West Virginia. The name is escaping me now.
Lindsley.
But, yeah. Lindsley, yeah. But where I was going with that, Anthony, is I guess I wanted to ask you about it. Do you think you've covered, YSN a long time now? You've done a lot of different interviews and things like that. And I guess where I'm getting at is, do you think players, when they face out of conference opponents in basketball, do you think they get more amped up, or do you see it because of the pride of the conference? You know, they're pretty much, it's the same energy level. You know, they take so much pride in the conference, so they're always going to give their best there, even though it might be fun out of conference? Or do you think they treat the in and out of conference differently? And what do you enjoy more also as a fan? In conference battles or those out of conference ones?
That's I think as much as the players will say, well, that's just another game. Like when you're playing your rival, which is usually in your conference, not always. Sometimes with these conference realignments that we've seen in the last 10 years, sometimes the schools really heated rival goes out of your conference and you play them in the non-conference slate. But there are teams, and they're almost always local, but they're also almost always in your conference. There are teams that you just get up for, like for South Range and Springfield. I don't think you'll ever see a Springfield South Range game where those kids aren't fired up to play each other, because not only do they know it, they have their families that are Springfield and South Range blood families telling them like, hey, I played against Springfield and they were our absolute rivals, and this is what it meant to me. And when it's generational like that, you get it. So, Columbiana, East Palestine is a big one, I know, and all those Columbiana County teams seems like they just get fired up for each other. Crestview, Columbiana came back during the will come back during this basketball season. That was always a big one, and we're having it renewed this year. Finally, we're seeing Columbiana play Crestview again. So when you have rivalries like that, I feel like the kids just get a little bit more juiced up because, one, everybody on the other side, who they are, you're friends with them probably off the court, because you probably play with them in AAU or you play with them in travel if you're talking to other sports. And then it's just like Adam Heckman said in our wrestling interview, like, you want to be the best in the area. You want to be the best in your conference. So you get geared up a little bit more when you're playing a team that is one of the best teams in the conference, because you just want to put yourself up and say, hey, we are the best team in the conference. Now, when you flip it and you say, hey, we're playing a team from out of the area, depending on the team, there are some teams that I'm sure kids are like, I can't wait to play this team. Like, if you play Akron, St. Vincent, St. Mary, I don't think anyone would not get fired up about playing that team, right? I mean, that's LeBron's high school, so you're playing basketball against St. V's, you're going to be fired up. I think some other schools like that. I think when you're playing, a Richmond Heights, or you're playing a team that is just known for being very, very good at basketball, and you're getting to play a chance to test yourself against them, I think that gets you fired up. But these teams that maybe you're unfamiliar with, it's kind of like a business trip almost, where it's like, okay, we have to play basketball well. We kind of know what they do, but we don't really know the ins and outs of their team, so we have to just focus on us. And I think it's a little bit harder probably to get geared up for that. So I would say the rivalries, the local rivalries, are definitely the ones that I get more fired up about.
Yeah, interesting. And I would agree with that. Like when I was in high school, and even my early high school days, like freshman, sophomore, we would always get really jacked for Springfield, and there was just that different energy, that the atmosphere. It was just something different in the air. But I will say, when you do get these out of conference games and you play a prestigious like school opponent, like you mentioned just a minute ago, Akron St. V's. I think sometimes, like, those games, even though they are out of conference, they can do a whole lot of good, because it kind of is a barometer of where you are as a team, especially if you're facing a team with such a winning tradition and history. And it kind of hardens you, I think, for the conference play as well.
You know, you wanted Gary Altizer's thoughts on this, and he gave them to you, Scotty. He's not on the show, but he commented, and he says quite brilliantly, rivalries build programs, right? But playing out of conference, teams who are good can really build confidence. Locally, it's about bragging rights. Out of conference, it's about showing what you're made of. So I like that, especially in wrestling. You know, when you're able to beat a kid that's not familiar with your area, you're like, that's how Youngstown does it. Football, when you're able to beat a team that is outside of the Northeast Ohio area and you beat them, it's like, that's how we do it up here. This is us. This is how we're representing. So I like what Gary's talking about there. Scotty, that before we get out of here, let's pop right back on the scoreboard real quick and go over tonight's schedule. It is a kind of slow night. We don't have a lot of games on a Wednesday this week as we go from December 12th over to December 13th. Luckily, it's on a Friday, or we would be very unlucky today, but it is Wednesday the 13th, which is always better. Girls basketball, 4 games going on. Howland versus Ursuline. Salem traveling to West Branch. Orange goes to Chagrin Falls. And Beaver area will travel to Mohawk. That is a YSN matchup. Go, everybody. I like getting into PA there. Beaver area, the newest member of the YSN family, going to Mohawk. Boys basketball, we have Jefferson at Lakeside. And we have Beaver area hosting on the boys' side, South Fayette. So that's boys basketball for you. And then we said it in wrestling. We have Beaver local against Boardman today as well. All those girls basketball games will be covered on YSN, I believe. Let me double check that to make sure I'm right. Yes, we have Howland and Ursuline will be Noah Ricks on the call. Ty Bartel will be in West Branch for the rivalry down there between Salem and the Warriors. Eric Hughes is going to be at Mohawk for Beaver area and Mohawk. Boys basketball, all that will be covered. Sam Torres and the 440 crew will be at Lakeside for Jefferson and Lakeside. And then Noah Doty has you covered for South Fayette at Beaver area. So all the basketball games are absolutely covered today. 5 games total, 2 boys, 3 girls. If you are looking for Youngstown East at Cheney, which was originally scheduled for today on the girls' side, that has been moved to Saturday. So don't go to Cheney tonight because nothing's going down there. Scotty, it has been a fun. Anthony Hartwig, Scotty Mincher. We're going to be signing off for today's episode of Running Point. When we come back tomorrow, we'll have another fun day. And hopefully, if everything goes right, we'll have a player profile. I'm not gonna give it away, but we will have a player profile for you to be played tomorrow on Running Point from 1 to 2. Have fun tonight. Enjoy the